welcome to Fans of the Forge. I'm Chris, and to my left we have...
You got Sean tonight.
And it's just us two tonight. Yeah. Teresa's up at camp for the evening. She had to go up for a meeting, and then she's going to be working tomorrow, so she figured she'd just stay over.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, makes sense. So we decided we would record and catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I got to work on some catch-up here.
We have fallen quite behind on Forge and Fire, and there's nothing we can do except watch them as we watch them. So we're going to start off talking about the Season 6, Episode 35, the Jian Sword. But first off, Sean, what you drinking?
I'm drinking some Back East Winterfest. It's like a dark beer. It's like a brown or something. Or, it's a porter perhaps, but it's pretty good.
That's cool.
Pretty good.
Nice. I have the Hull's Ein Collaborations beer, Later Holson Fest beer.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's pretty good. I like it. It's delicious.
And what would you say that style is? Like a Pilsner or a lager?
Yeah, closer to a lager, I would say. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Tasty. Got the lederhosen
the guy
on the back.
On there, yeah. Yep.
Anyway, that's what we're drinking. Let's get right into this episode. So
now, this episode came before or after the crossbow?
Well, that's the thing. Oh, did I do it wrong? It's right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going back here.
back in time.
Back in time. One episode prior, before we get into that other wrap-up, we're going into...
Season 6, Episode 34.
Yes.
The Rock Throwing Crossbow.
Yes. Okay.
So, our contestants, Colton Arias, part-time smith, 6 years of experience. He is at barbell_blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Bryce Perez, part-time smith, 6 years of experience. He is at Bryce Perez 21. We have Grant Saxman, part-time smith, 3 years of experience. And Craig Miller, part-time smith, 3 years of experience at C. Miller Knives.
Yes.
So, round 1. Interesting round. Interesting concept here. There's a giant object covered, and Will rips the cover off. It's Big Blue.
It's Big Blue? What?
Yeah, and they're saying they're going to retire that Big Blue, and so part of that retirement is going to be scavenging steel from it, so that they have to take the steel from the piston in order to make competition choppers.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but they have another Big Blue. They replaced it.
Yeah.
And, so they get at it. They start ripping it apart. They take this one thing off, cut it in chunks. I think it's W1 or
I think
W2.
they said it was W1.
I don't know. Forget. And so... not much to really report on. They're making competition choppers, and they're just kind of, forging stuff out. They're using a new hammer and blah, blah, blah. Grant is pacing himself so he doesn't gas out, in his words.
Gassing out.
Doesn't want to get gassed,
Oh, yeah.
And he has some issues with warping after the quench. Goes for a second quench. The warp comes back. Doesn't know what to do, whatever. That was basically the highlight. That was the highlight of the troubles for that round. So it wasn't really anything major.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Moving on to judging for Colton, he said the blade had a nice profile. It was clean, but there was a slight warp in the tang.
Mm-hmm.
For Bryce, he had kind of Doug made a joke, had a big butt, but he couldn't lie. And,
yes, of course.
But overall, it was a good job. For Grant, there was a big warp. There were also these kind of large divots towards the top of the blade.
Yeah, so he forged too deep
when
he was going through it. So he had lots of areas where there was just hammer marks going further than he wanted.
Yep. And he needed to refine the handle. And for Craig, it was straight, and the handle was mostly there. Good job. So in the end, Grant got the boot. He had the worst warp and some design flaws.
Yep. Well, that's too bad, but we move on to round 2. They must include blue handle material to pay homage to Big Blue. during the round. Bryce has a questionable grinding technique. There's a lot of rotation during the grinding.
He's just got an 8-inch wheel, and he's just kind of like
every other direction, just
like
all over.
Use a flat surface, or don't be on the wheel.
Right.
Like that.
And so he's doing that. He has issues getting his scales to handle fitting them together.
Yeah.
For Craig, he was testing the sharpness. He was testing how sharp his blade was by shaving his hair off, and boy, it was sharp because it shaved off some skin too.
Yeah. He cut himself a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It was interesting because Teresa was asking why they would do that to, like, everybody's testing it on their arms. I was like, well, it's part of the master smith requirements for testing sharpness of a blade after you do a chopping test. So you chop through like 2x4s with the knife that you're testing with, and then it still has to be able to shave hair off your arm afterwards.
What if you don't have hair on your arms?
Then I guess
you fail.
You fail, yeah.
Oh man,
it's very. Well, they don't have a backup plan.
What if you shave some skin off? That should still count.
That should probably count.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'd be good with that.
Loophole. I found it.
Anyway. So, for the strength test, they had the bamboo chop. For Colton, his edge held up well. His warp was fixed prior to the test, and I think this was Jay that was saying he would like to feel the handle be beefed up a little bit more. It was a little small for his hands. For Bryce, it wasn't the prettiest blade, but it held up, and the handle was just a little long.
Yep.
And for Craig, the edge was perfect. It felt good and looked good.
Yeah, he turned in nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice blade.
It was very nice. So for the sharpness test, it was an interesting new one.
Yeah.
The rope bridge slice.
Right.
It's still just cutting rope,
Yep.
but it's kind of a neat concept where you're cutting the rope bridge itself.
Yeah.
So for Colton, he had clean lines on his blade, and it will cut. For Bryce, he had a sharp edge, but the shallow handle, there's a little shallow of a handle towards the blade. It will cut. And for Craig, he had a nice edge that slices nicely. It will cut. So because of all that, Bryce gets the boot because his handle was a little larger than the rest. Wait.
I think it tapered towards the blade, and it was one of the complaints, but it was overall like large.
Yeah, it was really large. And so it came down to the fine details because they all had passed the test. And then they move on to round 3.
The Rock Throwing Crossbow.
What in the world?
So it was developed in the 14th century and became popular in the 17th century. It was also called the stone bow, and is used to launch small stones or pellets. And it's popular amongst hunters for getting like smaller game and even some medium-sized game. So, curveball. Second time Crossbows on the episode, or on the show.
Sure.
So for Craig on day 1, he decides to go with ADCRV2 for the prod. Gets it quenched. On day 2, he starts to shape the stock. And day 3, he starts really working on a trigger mechanism and all the other stuff.
Right.
For Colton on day 1, he's made crossbows as a kid, so he's kind of got a leg up on this whole process.
Yeah.
He goes for 5160 for the bow, and he says, well, if it's spring steel, and you want it to be springy, so this is what I'm going with. Makes sense.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Quenched, but did notice a little warp, so on day 2, he kind of fixes the warp just through grinding, and he starts to fit everything to the stock. And then on day 4, he works on sighting the bow and just dialing it in and some test shots, and he's ready to go.
Cool.
So, back to the forge. Keel test. This is an interesting one. It was a ballistics gel. I'm calling it the heart attack.
Oh,
so there's a little heart surrounded by a cube of ballistics gel.
Right.
And Doug's going to fire pellets, 3 pellets, to try to pierce the heart through the gel.
Right.
So for Colton, he didn't get the heart. The pellets went in, but
they didn't go in that far.
And it seemed like it just. Colton mentioned he made it kind of light. He didn't, make it like a heavy duty bow, so his pellets weren't launching that deep into the ballistics gel there wasn't a lot of force behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So Doug says it has nice construction. It's very sturdy, has a nice weight, but didn't penetrate the heart. It should kill, though. He says.
Should kill.
For Craig, it's a more powerful crossbow. His third shot got the heart. It will kill.
That was pretty nasty.
Yeah. So the first one just hit the barrel or whatever. The second one glanced off into jail, but the third one went right in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty neat. Moving on to the impact test, which was a tempered glass smash by Dave Baker. For Colton, it smashes the glass no problem. Colton was worried, but it got through. Dave says it's beautiful craftsmanship, but not a very strong draw weight.
Yeah, which, just the less draw weight, the less power you're going to have.
For Craig, it smashed the glass,
Ooh.
but the bow fired without Dave touching the trigger. So Dave was like, okay, I'm ready. And then boom, the thing just took off and, smashed the glass.
He was getting it set up and he jerked his arms a little bit and it just was enough to release the trigger.
Yeah. So, therefore, Craig gets the boot because the weapon is unpredictable and gets a vote of no confidence amongst all the judges.
Which, oh man, that sucks because he would have won. I guarantee he would have won if that hadn't gone off like that.
Just he said the way he made it was just like a really light trigger and it just wasn't gonna hold up. So unfortunately, he got the boot and Colton ended up pulling out the win on this kind of technicality, if you will.
Right. Not to say that his wasn't good, too.
Yeah,
he had a very good crossbow.
Yeah.
But
he had experience, and it helped him win, because maybe he would have had a problem like that if he didn't have the experience.
Right. And plus, he actually had secondary...
he had a spring-loaded thing so it would lock in place.
And then, but I mean for the actual... the bow itself.
He had
he had secondary ones on the inside.
Yeah, Dave liked those too. Yeah,
it was kind of neat because you have to assume that's providing a little bit more.
I think it reinforced the bow from bending, and,
right?
Maybe providing a little extra tension on the draw weight.
Yeah, but it was good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Colton and everybody that was on the episode, and. That was it for Season 6, Episode 24, the Rock Throwing Crossbow. Now, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Forged, a Jason Knight Maker series.
What's that all about?
Oh, that is the new series by Jason Knight that is available through his website, where Jason gives you tips and tricks and lessons on how to make the elemental knife, in his words, the forged style knives that he likes to make. Forged to sharp, as he would say. It's a great video series that he's put together. Currently, you can purchase it on his website, and there's 6 videos to watch in the first 6 parts of the series. There's going to be exclusive content available on the site as well, coming soon. And if you want to purchase it, you can go to nightforgestudio.com to see where this is and purchase it.
Is there a promo code?
As a matter of fact, there is.
Hey.
If you go on this Nightforge Studio and use coupon code FOF15, FOF15, you can get $15 discounted from the price of this video series.
Nice.
So go on there. If you really want to check out these videos, listen, we have the views on the other video that we did with Jason Knight to kind of prove that
we know you like them.
People like watching Jason Knight work. This video series is all about Jason Knight doing his work and making some badass knives.
Learn from a master smith.
Exactly. It's really, if you think about it, you're learning these lessons from a master smith. It's a bargain.
Yeah.
So check out the video series, and don't forget to use the promo code FOF15 to save $15 on your purchase of the Forge Jason Knight Maker Series videos.
Be a maker. Go check it out. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right. So, what's up? What's next?
We're going to go into the next episode of Forge and Fire. We're going to do 2 episodes. This one is Season 6, Episode 35, the Jian Sword.
Okay.
And our competitors for this one were Ryan Broadbeck, who had studied mechanical engineering technology. So I had to make a note of that because I am technically have a mechanical engineering degree.
Wow, look at you.
Look at me. 2 years experience. And he was the first one that I noticed. I recognized him right away because I follow him on Instagram already. He's Broadbeck Ironworks. Mm-hmm. So Jay Nielsen's been posting about a Broadbeck's Ironworks grinder that he just got, and this is the guy that makes it. And interestingly enough, Vince Molina is Ryan's partner at Broadbeck Ironworks. Yeah.
Wow.
So they both are like working Broadbeck Ironworks. So they both have their own separate forge accounts. So he has Broadbeck Forge Works, and then Vince Molina, I believe, is Dreamer Forge Knives or something like that.
Okay.
Vince Molina, he had 6 years experience. Yep. Casey Cleveland with 4 years experience. He was actually a knife or death competitor at one point. And then there was Sean Mullenbelt, who had 3 years experience. And Casey Cleveland actually had an Instagram handle that I was able to find too. It's Cleveland_knives.
All right.
And Sean Mullenbelt is at 51 Bravo. So those are the competitors for this episode, and for round 1, they are given a dagger, a kukri, a coffin handle buoy, karambit, and a jambia, and they must pick one knife style and combine it with the handle of another knife style.
Yeah.
And they're given W1 round stock to do it with. So
pretty interesting concept.
Yeah, it is. It's different. It's definitely
very different. And another different piece of this is that each smith gets their own play set of knives and handles to kind of try it out and see what they like and put things together and kind of visualize what it would look like and how the function would be. So they got to know, use that, which I'm sure is very helpful because without it, that would suck.
Right. Well, if you look at what they ended up doing, there should have been, there was, 5 different weapons? And so there should have been, how many different combinations would that be? 20? 25?
A lot.
Well, you had to mix it, so you couldn't have, it'd be 4 times 5, because you couldn't have a dagger handle with the dagger blade.
Right.
So 20 different options.
Let's go with that.
So let's say there's 20 different options. Teresa can check my math and let me know later on.
And what are the odds?
What are the odds that they only ended up coming up with 2 combinations between the 4 of them?
Yeah.
So Sean and Vince both did a kukri with the coffin handle, and then Ryan and Casey did buoys with the karambit handle.
Right.
And so Sean had a hard time shaping his kukri, and so he ends up heating it up and smashing it against the horn of his anvil to shape it around it that way, and it worked pretty well.
That's a method that people use, and it worked well.
Vince drew out his blade very, very thin and ended up crushing the tip.
Yeah.
So he had to reprofile his blade because the tip was cracked after the quench.
Yep.
For Sean, he had to quench multiple times to get to the proper hardness. And then Ryan quenched very hot, and his finger ring started to warp after he quenched it. So he's reshaping it, and Doug made a point to mention out that he hadn't dremeled out the finger hole yet.
Yeah.
Which could lead to a sharp, painful situation for the person wielding the knife.
Look, you got the handle round, you can do all that shit in.
Right. Well, anyway, for the judging, we have Sean with his kukri and coffin handle is pretty badly warped, and the handle was very long. For Vince, with the kukri with coffin handle, he had a good shape, but his handle needed more grinding. For Ryan, his buoy with the karambit handle, the ring isn't round, it's oblong, and it's so thin that it's a finger slicer. It was really thin metal at that point. It would have not been comfortable. And then for Casey, he also had the buoy with karambit handle, and Doug just said, "Wow!" And it looked great. And it came out really good.
He did a really good job.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So, because of the handle on his knife, Ryan ended up getting the boot. And they moved on to round 2.
Okay. Round 2, they have 2 hours to complete the handles. So, Vince immediately addresses the judge's concerns. He attaches his scales one side at a time. And Vince's coffin handle is more of a casket shape, they say.
Mm-hmm.
And he put in some, divots in there for grip. I don't think it looked that much like a coffin.
No. There's definite shape for a coffin that it's supposed to look like. It wasn't close.
Yeah. Sean works on grinding out his warp, and he couldn't line up his handle pinholes, but then he gets it.
Yep, just kind of some drama.
What to do. And then Casey immediately starts his handle, then focuses on making his blade a true hybrid Bowie karambit.
Right. He was like kind of mixing up the style of the blade a little and going crazy with it.
Yeah. So moving to testing, we have the antler chop. So for Sean, Kooky with the coffin handle, the knife broke on the 5th hit.
Ooh.
And so there's large grain structure from a high temp quench, and it looked like it might have been a stress fracture in there too. So for Vince and Casey, they just have to survive 5 strikes. So for Vince, he had the Kooky with the coffin handle, and Teresa says his handle looks like a pickle, not a coffin.
It's just this green shaped thing.
And he survives. And Casey, he has to survive, and he does.
Yep.
So he got through. And so Sean got the boot. And moving on to round 3.
The Jian Sword. It was from 17th century BC.
7th century BC.
7th century BC China is a straight double-edged blade that requires the finesse of a true swordsman.
Right.
It has to be 23 to 25 inches with a central ridge on both sides, a handle, and a disc pommel. For Vince, he went with 80 CRV2, and he gets a little bit of bend in it as he's forging, but nothing too major. For day 2, he finished up his bevels and heat-treated his blade. And on day 4, he finished up his pommel, which was really oversized, so he had to cut it down.
Yeah.
The way that he described it was that, like, I forget what the weight was, but, like, he basically said that he cut, like, half the weight out of the blade by reducing the size of the pommel.
No
like,
way.
It didn't seem right.
No.
So, I don't know. It seemed strange.
The pommel would have to be, like, a baseball.
Right, or like made of lead or something.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, I don't know. It was strange.
It was,
Anyway, for Casey, he decided he wanted to make Damascus. And then on day 3, he has his guard on and the handle is in place. And he has a hard time threading his tang and then ends up cutting it off altogether. And then when I was looking at the closed captions for it, I think that during the episode they said that he had a janky tang.
Yeah.
But it came out as danky tang in the closed captioning, and I stopped everything, and I had to go to Teresa. I go, have you ever heard of Danky Kang? And she's like, no. And so I had to look up the meme, the Danky Kang meme, in the origin of that. Apparently, it wasn't actually a Jeopardy thing, but it was based, like somebody created a fake Jeopardy thing.
All right.
Where it was asking, the woman had to identify Sonic, the Hedgehog. Yeah. And it was, I forgot what the question was, but it's like, who is this blue character that runs fast and collects rings? And she wrote, who is Danky Kang? And then so if you look up pictures of Danky Kang, it's like a really just messed up and like deformed looking of Donkey Kong.
It's not that dank.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So sorry for that little aside. On day 4, it was all about fit and finish. And then for testing back in the forge, they had the ballistics dummy keel test. For Vince, it will keel, and for Casey, it will also keel. Pretty straightforward test.
Yeah.
And then for the strength test, it is the heavy pot smash. Basically, a bunch of pots hanging, and you got to smash them with your blade. For Vince, his pommel broke off on the 3rd strike, and so they had to stop testing. And Casey just had to make it through 3 strikes to win. And because of that, he did make it through those 3 strikes. Vince got the boot, and Casey won the episode. So congratulations, Casey. Good job to all the guys that were on the episode. Very impressive.
Yeah.
That handle and knife combination that's tough because these knives are designed the way that they are with those handles for a reason.
Right.
So to mix and match them could be difficult. So congrats to them on being able to come up with designs in general that worked out.
Make it work.
Yeah. So that's that. That's the episode. Season 6, episode 35, the Jian Sword.
Nice.
And now it's time for Tales from Infinite Ford.
Oh, yeah.
Do.
Hooray.
Okay.
All right.
So why don't you start us off with
Okay.
somewhat kind of a not hooray.
Oh, yeah. It was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
So, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we had some crazy windstorm. I mean, this is the worst windstorm I've ever been in.
It was pretty crazy.
It was bad. Like, this shit was wild. So, I don't know. It was like 11:30 at night. I'm home with the dog, and the wind's just blowing around. I just I'm like, man, some branches are some shit's gonna go down, like somewhere along the neighborhood, because it's full of trees. Well, wouldn't you know, a branch, basically the top of a tree, falls like right behind my car.
Oof.
Right, and I had to go in like really early in the morning to work. I had to go in for like 5:45. So I was like, well, I either deal with it now, or I get up at like 4 and try to cut this thing so I can get out. So it like grazed the Jeep a little bit, and I was like, okay, it's not bad. Like, all right,
yeah,
no big deal. So I'm out there like cutting it up, and it's a big freaking limb. Like it's big. So I'm like, it took me an hour just to like clear enough out so I can get out in the morning. All right, fine. Now, luckily, there was no rain or anything like that. It was just wind.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe 2 hours later, still windy, hasn't let up. I hear like a thud. I kind of feel a little something too. I'm like, all right, maybe another branch came down or something like that. So I'm like, oh, let me look out the windows. Let me check to see what it is. Man, I don't want to deal with something else behind the car again. So I'm looking out. I don't see anything in the backyard. It's the normal stuff. I'm like, okay. So I look out my bedroom window. I open the blinds. There's a tree right there, right? Maybe like 6 feet from me is a tree that had uprooted and just kind of came and is leaning against the house. It's leaning against the roof.
Geez.
It's right there. Look to my left. We have the chimney. There's another tree that's leaning against the house too. So there's 2 trees leaning against the house, like where the bedroom is, where I am laying in the bed. They're just I'm flanked by giant trees that have decided to uproot and are resting against the house. So I'm like, okay, this is great. So,
dude, that's craziness. If they had fallen from a little bit farther away or something,
if there was more distance, they could have just, come in a little bit more.
The house, man.
Something bad definitely would have happened. Could have happened.
Oh yeah.
But it's crazy. So I'm like, all right. So I just kind of go back to bed. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Well, I could have just went to the other bedroom or something, But I was like, I just think it's like whatever. And so I didn't I hear like creaking and stuff once in a while. All right. So maybe like an hour later, more winds. Finally, I hear this big crash. And so that other tree gets taken down and just goes into the backyard, lands across the deck, crushes 2 railings, crushes both of my grills. I can't see the Jeep anymore. It's surrounded by the top of the tree. It's engulfed in tree.
Oh my god!
There's no way that I was gonna cut that out. There's no way. You couldn't see it. You couldn't see the car. So I was like, all right, and there's nothing I can do. So, and meanwhile, I'm texting the wife. I'm like, this is what's going on. There's a lot of wind. Oh, the branch fell, and then the tree fell, and good thing she wasn't there. That's all I can say. Because there's been a lot of freaking out.
Sure.
And could have been 2 cars smashed or whatever.
Oh, easily, yeah.
So I had to take an Uber to work at 5 something in the morning. I'm like, I don't know if there's any cars running. There's a dude took me to work. It was a good ride. Thanks, buddy. And then so they clean up we had a tree company come. They finally cut it all up. They took the stuff down. It was kind of exciting, and then they cut it all up in chunks. And so 2 railings on the deck completely smashed, 2 grills completely smashed. Like one is like pancaked, the other one was just mangled. Put them out on a curb. Someone just took them like right away. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to deal with it. And then part of the gutter on the garage got like bent and like hit. And then the Jeep, the windshield was smashed. The side mirror was like taken, not completely off. It was just hanging by the power cable.
Oh, jeez.
The roof rail on the driver's side was like got popped up. Like it ripped off of the screws holding it in. Like there's a little divot there. Part of the cowl on the front got smashed. So tried to get the windshield fixed. One company was like, no, the frame's too rusted out. I just want to get through the winter. So I called a local company, tell them what happened. All right, bring it in. We'll see what we can do. All right, next day. Okay, it's ready.
Wow.
They slapped the windshield in there. They said, yeah, it was pretty bad. The frame was pretty rusty. We used plenty of urethane on there, so you should be good. Hey, it's working.
There you go.
Yeah, so, some like the windshield wipers are like little like they don't like to move. Like it looks like one of the arms got like a little bent, and when I turn the heater on now, there's got to be like glass pieces like getting caught in the motor, so it's like. Like there's a lot of noise in there now, and if I turn it up too high, like it starts. You can feel a shake in the car, like the fan motor just like shaking around. So it's still going, though.
Still going.
Let's get through the winter, and So that's fun, and dealing with insurance to try to get stuff repaired and money for that.
Oh yeah.
So that's that, but. This past weekend, I decided to put a new sink and vanity in our master bath.
Oh, okay.
Get rid of the old cast iron pedestal sink. We had to do a storage in there. So, finally I was like, I could probably just pop one of these. I saw them at Home Depot.
Yeah.
They come. There's a whole cabinet assembly. Comes with a sink. Just stuck it right in there, and it was pretty good. The size is kind of weird because it's like a 22-inch opening. Standard is like 24 for all the cabinets they sell.
Right.
So they have like an 18, so I get the 18. And it fits all right. It looks all right.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool. Yeah, those are pretty easy to hook up. So that's a nice job.
The only thing that sucked is I had to buy a new faucet. The faucet I had there was newer, but I had to buy a new one because the one I had was a 3-piece. And on the sink, the holes are really close, so I had to get the 1-piece faucet.
Okay.
It has everything attached to it.
Got it.
It's all in one. And then I had to deal with some sealing issues. So to get a little technical, if anyone cares about plumbing and whatnot, in most sinks, you ever see like the holes, that hole that's like in there? That's an overflow. So if the water gets up in a sink, it can go through the hole, and that hole goes down into where the drain stopper is. Where that connects, there's actually holes in that tailpiece that allows that water to go down the drain.
Right.
So my sink doesn't have that.
Oh.
So, but the drain tailpiece has the holes in it. So what was happening is, and I was trying to find out where this water was coming from. Not a lot, but I was like noticing it. So as water was going down the drain, I'm seeing some drips. Looks like that it was going into those holes, even though it had like nowhere to go.
Oh.
It was kind of just building up in there and then kind of somehow getting past the rubber seal from underneath. And then we just find a little way to get down and like dribble down.
Right.
So I took some plumber's putty. I took that up. I kind of blocked the holes and plugged them up, stuck it back down there, and I think that's going to be the solution. So
yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Just to fill that cavity, because it was just enough where that water, if it just had a little opening to get past that rubber, it was just making it through. Other than that, it should be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I got some time within the last couple weeks to get out to the forge and get the 2x72 grinder all set up, and then I took the knives that I've been working on to the grinder and started doing some profiling and some grinding of the blade itself and
Nice.
discovering which ones have cracks and which ones don't.
Yeah.
One of them is pretty badly cracked. That was the one I dropped in the water.
Ah, okay. Didn't make it.
I took the thing and I smashed it on cement pretty hard.
Right.
After the heat treat and everything, it was cracked before the heat treat, because it was already gone at that point. But it hasn't broken yet, so I might see if I can at least complete it and put together a knife still with it.
A little box cutter.
Yeah, that's all it has to be. Just make it a knife. It's the practice that I'm looking for. So that was cool. I got the forge up and going, and I got some more horseshoes straightened out. I made a new style of horseshoe hook where it's a double hook. So the bottom kind of loops down and has a little scroll at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to do just like a decorative scroll on the top. And I'm like, oh, wait, this thing is long enough that if I were just to add like another little hook here, you could easily put like a couple of sweatshirts or a couple different things on there. So I came up with a little design for that. And it just got me thinking, it's like, oh, wow, I can do a lot just with these horseshoes. And our friend Forge and Feathers, Zach, actually messaged and was like, hey, you could do stuff like this. And he sent me some different ideas of things that he's made, different types of artistic blacksmithing you can do with them. So
cool.
Planning out some stuff for those. I have some ideas for more hooks I want to do. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I'll be able to get some time out there again. Oh, and I actually found someone locally was getting rid of a post vise, which I've been looking for since I set up the shop, and they were giving it, they had a good price, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And he also had a 2-burner forge that he was getting rid of, again for a good price, and I was like, you know what, I'll take them both. And now I have a 2-burner forge that has a side door, so now when I want to do these horseshoes, it's going to make it a lot easier to get them in and out. I can just open the side door and slide them in that way.
Cool.
And it's going to be 2 burners, so it'll get hotter faster, and I'll be able to get started working faster and less time in between heats to do what I got to do.
Nice.
So that should be good. I just got to get it all hooked up with the different wire line or gas line, so I can hook it all to the tank, and then that'll be that. So that's really all I've been working on, is just using the grinder, getting used to grinding things again, and getting some forging time in when I can. I'm not really working on so many knives forging-wise right now. I want to kind of finish off the ones that I have.
Yeah.
And then, get to work on some more.
All right.
So that's
cool.
it.
Yeah.
That's my Tales from Infinite Forge.
Nice. Good get.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think that's probably a good spot to wrap it up for today. We've already done 2 Forge and Fire wrap-ups on top of that. So thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thanks, everybody, who has subscribed to us on the YouTube channel. We just broke 1,800 subscribers on YouTube.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I
Take
can't
it.
complain about that. And other than that, follow us in all the places. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are the main ones. And thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
Later.